A typical mainstream anime most likely has a main character, who's the hero of the story, as the one that does the good deeds, takes down the antagonists, and goes on a long journey where you, the viewer, can learn a lot from them. These heroes are people or beings that the viewer can look up to, hence why a lot of anime for younger people have heroes and or main characters that do good for the world that they live in. My Hero Academia, Dragon Ball Z, and Naruto are just 3 out of the many anime that have these types of characters that anyone can look to and say, I want to be just like them. It's amazing how many anime there are with these types of positive characters. I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z and looked up to people like Goku, Gohan, and the rest of the Z fighters. I wanted to be just like them and help others out. We watch these characters grow up from when they're really young to when they get older, and we see them exact more of their good-naturedness, and they do good deeds all their life. But if you're someone that aspires to be like these heroes, what happens when you make a mistake? What happens when you make a couple of mistakes? What happens when you make a mistake so big that you almost destroy the entire world and leave those surviving struggling to live? What if you were blamed for doing that, but don't remember a single detail of you committing the act? This is the fate of the robot Casshern in the anime Casshern Sins. In a world run by robots, led by this really strong robot named Breaking Boss, Casshern is a robot who is sent along with 2 others to destroy a being named Luna, who's said to be someone who allows robots to live forever. However, once Casshern kills her, the world goes into a phase called a ruin, where all robots have lost their ability to live forever and they rust and break down. In the midst of all this, Casshern is the only robot that can still live forever and heal from any injury he sustains. He also never ages. A few years after killing Luna, he reappears in society, but doesn't remember anything. However, everyone still remembers him. Everyone goes after him, angry that he killed their last hope of eternal life, and tried to quote-unquote devour him, since there was a rumor going around that anyone that was able to devour Casshern would live forever, mostly because he was a being who could live forever, and others would be able to gain his power if they ate him. This is a lot easier said than done, as Casshern, no matter who he's fighting, is able to defeat any opponent he comes across, mainly due to his superior strength, as he's a robot designed for combat. Pair that with his healing ability, and you get a godlike robot that can defeat anyone that stands in his way, even if he doesn't try hard. Even if he doesn't want to fight, some instinct will trigger in him if he's in danger, which will force his mind to go into a state of fight or flight, and force him to fight with a good amount of his power. This causes others to be afraid of him, and scares off a lot of the robots who approach him, even the ones who don't want to fight and just want to live in peace. Casshern also meets some allies along the way, such as Ringo and Oji, who are a robot duo that have stuck together for a long time. Oji treats Ringo as if she was his daughter, and they're pretty much family to each other. Luz is someone Casshern sticks with a lot of the time. She's a robot that's good at fighting, but first hated Casshern because he killed her sister who was guarding Luna. After a while, she realizes that no matter what she does, she won't be able to defeat Casshern due to his power and his immortality. But she realizes that Casshern wants to fix the world and right his wrongs, and that ultimately makes her want to join him. And that leads me into my next point. Casshern, despite being a powerful being who has committed horrible acts in the past, is trying to save other robots from the ruin. He would rather die and have the rest of the robots live instead of living on himself. The only problem is, he can't do that because he's immortal. When Casshern hears rumors about Luna still being alive, he does everything he can to try to find her. This is what gets a lot of people on his side. And he always asks himself, is what I'm doing enough? I want to go back to what I mentioned earlier about the shonen characters. Most of these characters are good, and some of them haven't even committed a single sin in their lives. But the thing is, real life isn't always like that. People make mistakes. People do things that harm others. And they do things that harm themselves too. It's rare for someone to have a clean slate, free of doing any quote-unquote bad things. We all have our regrets. I've even made some bad mistakes I'm not proud of. Something that I've always heard in my life is that people don't change, and you should never expect them to. That is something that's stuck with me my entire life, and will probably stick with me forever. I've come across a lot of people who do bad acts, and even though they say they'll change, they don't. They continue doing those bad acts, but only unconsciously instead of consciously, which could be worse because then they think those acts are justified. And here's something that Casshern does that not everybody who wants to change does. He realizes that what he's done is bad, and works on fixing his mistakes, rather than denying them and acting like they never happened. Time doesn't go backwards, only forwards, and Casshern knows that he can't undo what he's done to Luna and the rest of the world. All he can do is try to fix what he's done, and that's a big major step in the right direction. Casshern teaches us that if you want to solve your problems, you need to recognize them first, and then work to solve them. Because there's no point in trying to fix something that you don't know is broken. You won't have a plan to fix it. Even though Casshern can't bring other robots back to life, and he will always be known as the robot who killed Luna, he knows that if he doesn't do something about his situation, he'll live the rest of his life feeling sorry for himself. And at some point, since he lives forever, he'll go insane, and to combat his feelings of guilt, he'll go into denial, and from that point, he'll think his actions are justified. As much of a robot Casshern is, I believe he's more of a human than a lot of humans are today. If there's a moral to this anime, it's that generally, no matter what bad acts you've committed in the past, you can change and do things for the better. But until you know what you've done and realize how horrible your bad acts were, you'll never change. But besides all that, Casshern Sins was a wonderful anime to watch. I've heard it was an adaptation of a 70s anime called Casshern. I haven't seen it. From what I've heard, they have similar characters, but the plot's very different. Casshern Sins was very entertaining. Had a great message, though it did take me a while to get through it, just because there were a lot of parts that were kind of boring because of a lot of talking and too much dialogue, and the actions became a little bit repetitive at some points. So my final ranking will be an 8 out of 10. Definitely an anime I recommend you check out. If you've seen Casshern Sins, what did you think of it? Let me know down below in the comments. And that'll be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, a like would be greatly appreciated. If you want to see more content like this, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I post a video every week talking about anime, manga, manhwa, stuff like that. And if you want me to talk about any series or any topic that I haven't covered yet on this channel, let me know down in the comments as well. And until then, I'll see you all in the next one.